Are we ready? Right, 3, 2, 1. Now when you do stuff like this, step number 1, Bashira, you always have to read the question. The same thing when we learn for functions, you always need to read the question. Junaid, pay attention now. In the diagram below, A is -1 and -3. You need to check, is it on the diagram? Yes, it is. B and C are vertices of a triangle. As soon as you see the triangle, you must think of sum of angles of a triangle, exterior angles of a triangle. P is 2, 5 and 1. P is 2, 5 and 1. It's already on the diagram. And it's the midpoint. Now, if they said midpoint and they never put these two things, you needed to put it in. Then it says CA extends and cuts y-axis at D. So it cuts here. And the equation of CD, so that whole equation there, is y is equal to 3x plus k. Now, is that on our diagram or not? It's not on the diagram, so I need to put it in. So I'm going to say here, y is equal to minus 3k plus k, 3x plus k. Then it's going to say here, A, alpha and beta are angles that AB and AC respectively make with the x-axis. Remember, whenever you're doing inclination of the line or inclination of any line, it's always how does the straight line cuts the x-axis. So you always start from the x-axis and go towards the line that you're working with. That's your angle of inclination. Right, and it says here CAB is theta. So CAB is theta. So that's my theta, it's already written for me. Now once we got all our information on here, we need to start. Determine the value of K. Determine the value of K. What is K? K is the C value of the equation. So we're going to write here 2.1, right, y is equal to minus 3x plus k. Now, if you have something like this and you're missing one of the values and you need to find it, you can substitute x and y and then solve for k. So I need to look on that line. Is there another point given to me on that line? What point is given to me? A. So it's -1 and -3. So I'm going to say I'm going to substitute A, which is -1 and -3. Wait. Right. So -3 is equal to -3 open brackets -1 plus k. -3 is equal to +3 plus k. Now some people said it's equal to 0, but that's not equal to 0. Right. If I moved it to that side, it became -6. Right. So you have gotten 1 mark for substituting a point and 1 mark for putting -6. How many of you got it?
It's guaranteed we get a question like that.
Listen, it's always guaranteed that you get a question where you put a combination of things in one. Right. So that's this question basically covers all of our sections in analytical. Right. Next, what happened? Go quickly. Right. Determine the coordinates of B. So what is happening at B? Here's B and here's A and here's P. Because we have one point, we have the midpoint and we need to work out the other point, we know that these three lines are important, or these 3 points are important. So what we normally do is we write all 3 points down. So we say 2.2, we write all 3 points down. A, what's A? A is -1 and -3. P is 2,5, people. Don't think it's 25, it's 2,5. That's which is 2.5, and we have 1. And then we have to work out B, which we don't know what it is, so we're going to call it X and Y. Now, normally they give you A and B and they expect you to work out the midpoint. If you had to do that, you would have said this plus this divided by 2, and you would have gotten this answer. Then you would have said that plus that divided by 2, you would have gotten that answer. But now we are doing the reverse part. We are trying to work out which points gave me the midpoint. So what would I do? I'll do the same thing. I'll say, right, -1 plus x divided by 2 must equal to 2,5. And then the other one will be -3 plus y divided by 2 must give me 1. Then I solve for my missing numbers. So I'm going to say here times 2 -1 plus x is equal to 5 times 2 -3 plus y is equal to 2. Then I'm going to say x is equal to 6 and y is equal to 5. So what's my coordinate of B? It's 6 and 5. Come in. Right, so how many marks was this question for? It was only 2 marks. So listen, sometimes when it's for 2 marks, they just expect you to not show all the working out, they just want you to give the answers, okay? So you could have just said it mentally, like how Aman likes doing mental stuff, and gotten 6 and 5. You just told us you have one now. Right. Oh, that's I told you to take this one to use it. You don't use it for now. Right. So you get 6 and 5. Everyone's fine with that? That's how you would have done it. So you would have gotten 2 marks for some working out, or 1 mark for this and 1 mark for that. That would be 2 marks. But if they gave you like for 4 marks, then that means you had to show the working out to get this. Who's these people? Oh yeah. Nico, come here. Here's your paper. Akila, come. Here's your paper. Who else came in? Only Akila and Nico came in. Yeah. This is not your paper 1. This is your assignment. You did that. Don't look so sad. Right.
Say you got B wrong. So now when they say B.
Right. If you got B wrong, it's fine. You would have. I would have taken your wrong answer and marked it right for the rest of the things. Right.
Because I'm looking at
That's what I like about math. If you make one mistake, it's carried on.
That's why I told you, don't feel bad. If you did one mistake, it's fine. Right, work out the gradient of AB. So what I'm going to do, gradient of AB, I know what my A is, I know what my B is. So I'm just going to say y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You need to remember your formulas. If you don't know your formulas, you're going to be screwed because there's no formula sheet. Right, so what's my gradient, what's my 2 numbers? My A is minus 1 and minus 3, and my B is this. So I can use whichever one. So I'm going to start with 5. 5 minus a minus 3 over 6 minus a minus 1 is equal to m. So that becomes 8 over 7. So 1 mark for substitution and 1 mark for your answer. That's how you get 2 marks there. Then it says here, calculate the size of theta. Now this is the one where all of you go crazy, right? This is the one where you all are crazy now. Number 1, we first must identify how are the 3 letters, in relation to each other. So I have here my B, I have here my A, and I have here my theta. Right? So we are working out theta. Now, whenever you have these 3 things like this, and you know that this is my x-axis, I go and I highlight my x-axis. When I highlight my x-axis, everything makes sense now because I know this is a triangle being formed here. Can you see this triangle here?
Yeah.
So I could have said that this is equal to this plus that because of exterior angles of a triangle. Or I could have worked out the angle of this, the angle of that, which is vertically opposite, and I could have worked out sum of angles of a triangle. But you had to know which numbers are we working with. What are we specifically working with? Right. So what I always suggest is just work out the alpha and work out the beta first and then come back to it. So how do you work out the alpha and how do you work out the beta? How do you work out inclination of any line?
Gradient.
Right. But what about the gradient? Right. So inclination of any line is tan of the angle, so I'm just going to say theta now, is equal to the gradient of that line. Okay, it's always that. So it's always tan of the angle is equal to the gradient. So if we are working at the angle, I'll press shift tan of the gradient and I would have gotten my angle. Also, you must remember that the inclination of the line is the straight line with the x-axis from the right hand side. That means the angle formed from the right hand side. So if I have my Cartesian plane like this and I have 2 lines, I'm going to move 1 line here, I'm going to move 1 line here, and I said work out the inclination of the black line. Then my inclination will be, where is my x-axis? The green, isn't? From the x-axis to the black line going from the right hand side, it will be my inclination. Not this side, it will be that side. Same thing with the purple. From the x-axis to the line, that will be my inclination. So, if I had to work out the inclination of the black line, I would work out the gradient of this line, and then my angle would be this one here. If I am working on the inclination of this line, I would work out the gradient of this line, and my angle would have been that one there. So that's a very important thing. What is inclination? Inclination is from the x-axis to the straight line from the right hand side. So you're going this way. Right, so it's anti-clockwise. Remember your angles go anti-clockwise, so that's why we're going that way. Now let's move on now. So what we're going to do here is, we are going to work out the gradient of CD and the gradient of AB, isn't it? So when we work out the gradient of, which gradient we worked out before? AB. So let's say, so we got AB, the gradient of AB was 8 over 7. So tan of, now AB is this one here. What is the angle called here? Alpha. So tan of alpha is equal to 8 over 7. If you type in your calculator, shove alpha, shove 8 over 7, you're going to get? How much you're going to get? You're going to get 48. 48,81. Right. 48,81 degrees. 2 decimal spaces, okay? And then that's my alpha. Then I need to work on my beta, tan of beta. Now to work on my beta, what is happening? I need to work out the gradient of CD. I need to work out the gradient of CD. Can I work out the gradient of CD?
Yeah.
Okay, but how can I use 80 to work on my CD?
Because you have the equation of the line.
But we have the equation of the line. You could have done that because you know what D is, isn't it? But do we really need to do that? No. Y is equal to minus 3x plus k. Remember that one there? And we said y is equal to minus 3x. What was the k? Minus 6, isn't it? So, because it's in y is equal to mx plus c, what is my m? Minus 3. So I already know that my gradient is minus 3. Can you see how it's important to read the instructions on top and to make sure that that is in your diagram? Because all these things, also for functions, you had to actually take all the information on top and put it in a diagram, then it made sense.
But in this case, you could have worked it out then.
Yes, you could have worked it out, you could have done the same thing, but it would have taken longer, okay? So what have I done? Because it's minus 3, I'm going to write here minus 3. Now, it's very important. When you have a positive gradient, your answer is going to be an acute angle, okay? But when you have a negative gradient, your answer is going to be an obtuse answer. So when you type in your calculator shift tan, you mustn't say negative 3, you must say positive 3. So type in positive 3, what do you get? 70 something you get. What you get? 71,57. Right, degrees. That's what you're going to get. Alright. But is that my beta? No, this is called reference of beta. My reference angle of the beta. So my actual beta is going to be equal to 180 minus 71,57. Now don't be despaired. If you put negative 3 and you got a negative 71,57, you would have just put the negative 71,57 there because you still know that you have to minus it anyways, okay? But you mustn't say minus a minus now and then get confused.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, but some people would have done that, okay?
So you wouldn't mind if we still did that?
No. So what's my answer here? 10? What's it? 108. 108. 108,43 degrees. That's my answer there. That's my answer there. Now, these two, how do they relate to theta? So let's go back now. When we had our diagram here, how do they relate to theta? Now, we know that this is our triangle. So we could have used two ways. Sum of angles of a triangle, or we could have used exterior angles of a triangle. So if I am doing exterior angle of a triangle, I know that this and this is vertically opposite. So I could have said angle B minus angle A, and I would have gotten my theta, isn't it? Or I could have worked out that 71, whatever angle here and said this plus this minus 180 will give me that, isn't it? So which some of you did it both ways and you got the same answer, but some of you used the wrong angle when you were doing sum of angles of a triangle, right? That's why some of you got 29 as your answer instead of 59 as your final answer. So I think it was it you, Nawaz? When you added, you put the wrong numbers at the bottom.
22,
And I gave you CA.
yeah.
That's
my
right.
mistake was I didn't say 108,
what is the
43.
actual
I said
answer?
108.
There's it now, right? So to do, we're going to use beta, we're going to minus our alpha, and we're going to get our theta. Why? Because of the exterior angles of a triangle. What is my beta? 108,43. What is my alpha? 48,81 degrees. And I get 59, hello? Type in your calculator. What do you get?
What you had it?
59,62 degrees. So how do you get 5 marks? Right, they said you got 1 mark for just doing this. You got 1 mark for knowing that this was -3. You got 1 mark for working out the final answer here. You got 1 mark for showing how you're going to find the statement. And you got 1 mark for the final answer. That's how you got 5 marks here. And they will ask this every single time. So you need to know how do all 3 angles relate to each other. Okay? Right, and you always have to use the inclination of a line.
Yeah. Vertically opposite.
Right, everyone's done with this. Now we're going to move to the next one. Calculate the length of AD. Now, AD was so simple. AD was so simple. We have A. Now, how do we know D?
You already know the 0 because it's on the y.
But why do we know D?
Because of the
Y is equal to minus 3x minus 6.
yeah.
Mx plus c. What does c represent? My y-intercept. So therefore at this point here it's going to be 0 and minus 6. Can you see how you have to say what is happening at this dot? You must always do that. What is happening at this dot? Is it an x-axis? Is it x-intercept? Is it a y-intercept? Is it a turning point? Is it whatever? Is it what? You must decide what is happening. Is it a perpendicular line? Now remember, what happens for perpendicular lines? What formula must we use? M1 times M2 is equal to minus 1. Or what's the other one you must remember? If it's parallel lines, what do we know about the 2 lines? The gradients are equal. Right. So because we know C is minus 6, we know our coordinates is 0 and minus 6. So I have my A, I have my D. I work out my distance through distance formula. Right. So when you work out your distance through distance formula, hello, give me my page back. Right, work it through distance formula. We are going to get this now. Right, so we're going to say A is minus 1. What is A? Minus 1 minus 3. What is D? 0 and minus 6. And now some of you didn't know how to substitute into your thing. So look here. If I am saying AD, meaning I'm not saying AD squared, then this has to have a square root. If I am saying AD squared, then this mustn't have the square root. That's why many people are getting confused. So I'm going to say x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Now, you know this, I could have swapped these 2 brackets around and I would still have gotten the same answer. Now, you must remember that this is the gradient. Can you see the gradient formula? y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. But what's happening in the middle? A plus sign, and they both are being squared. Right, so when I substitute, now some of you couldn't substitute properly. So x squared, I can use this. So minus 6 minus a minus 3 is a positive 3. No, I'm doing it wrong. I did the y first, nah? Right, but it's never mind. I did the y first. Then here I'm going to say 0 minus a minus 1 squared. So I swapped the 2 things around, but remember I told you you still get the same answer. If I type it in my calculator, I'm going to get square root of 10. But did the question say leave your answer in third form? No. It didn't say anything. When it doesn't say anything, you need to always do to 2 decimal spaces. So your final answer is AD is equal to 3,16 units because it's a length. Right?
So how do you know it's AD squared?
When it's AD squared is if they told you it's the answer AD, if they say AD squared is equal to this, then you would have put the squared one. Okay, but we'll show you now. We know which one we'll have to use that for the last question. Right, everyone got this? Now we're going to the last question. Now this is the part where we use the square part. The point of E lies in the third quadrant and has the coordinates -3 and y. If the length of AE is square root 53, calculate the value of y. Now you mustn't be scared to go to your diagram and draw stuff in. Okay, so what did it tell me? It's in which quadrant? Third quadrant. What coordinates did it tell me? -3 and y. So here is -1, so -2. So I can say -3 is around about here. So I can even say it's somewhere here or it's somewhere wherever, and I call it E. And I say my coordinates is -3 and y. So I make a fake line and say, oh, okay, so it's a straight line here. And here I got my coordinates -1 and -3. Here I have -3 and y. And they told me that the length between it is square root 53. Now they want me to work out y. So this is where I first identify. When I say the length, which formula must I use? The distance formula. So let me write out the distance formula using the two coordinates given. What is A coordinate? -1 and -3. What is E's coordinate? -3 and y. Now they told me that AE is equal to square root 53. So I'm going to say AE is equal to square root x squared minus x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Now I'm going to say AE, what did it tell me AE is? Square root 53, I put it here. And then I got square root here, I'm going to say right. x2, so I can say x2 is -3. x1 is positive 1. Here, y, I don't know, I put it here. Here, minus becomes positive 3 squared. Now, you should use your brain already. If you know you need to work out y, right? You should make this y2 first. You should make this x2 and y2. So you know you're not going to get a negative. You'll get a positive. So it's more easier for you to work. Right? So now I'm going to work it out now. First, I'm going to simplify. You could have done that also too, but you could have, I'm just going to simplify. Okay. So -2 squared plus y squared plus 6x plus 9. Isn't it? And what is this one will give me? 4. Right. Now, how do I get rid of a square root? I square both sides. I have to show that I squared both sides. You can't just say I'm dropping it. So 53 is equal to 4 plus y squared plus 6x plus 9. Now some of you got your sign wrong. That's where your answers went wrong. So I'm moving everything to the right hand side just because it's already positive here. So plus 6y. This is 13. What is this? 13. Yeah. Right. And 53 minus 13 is minus 40. Then I'm gonna, now some of you didn't know how to do what you call it? Factors. You could have used the quadratic formula. Right. So what was it?
Plus 10 minus 4.
Plus 10 minus 4. So plus 10 minus 4. So therefore y is equal to 4 or y is equal to -10. Now if you just stop here, you lost 1 mark. Why you lost 1 mark?
That's what I did wrong.
Because you didn't tell me which quadrant it lies in. Which one is the y value? 4 or -4? Now think about it. They told you it lies in the which quadrant? Third quadrant. So what must y be? Negative. So this is the valid one and this is invalid. So what happens? This one here is my y value. Right. That's how you would have gotten your 5th mark. Now everyone understands analytical geometry?
Is this